I really appreciate Aggie's vision on the role of nutrition in cancer prevention and cancer treatment. Just for today's lunch menu, and she came over to my office. We had a meeting to discuss about what is healthy, what is not healthy, particularly for everyone here with interest in pancreatic cancer. Thank you, Aggie. So not to repeat what I have shared with everyone last year, that is on a macronutrient, protein, carbohydrate, and a fat basis, what we should or should not have. I'm going to talk about something much newer and a cutting edge, but it's related to what we eat and how we live. To summarize what we talked about last year, we talked about protein is very important. We need to take adequate amount to support our immune system, support our organs, our body to come up and strong, do well during treatment. That can be surgery, chemotherapy, or radiation. We also need our immune system stay strong to help us not to have infection, complications. Meanwhile, will help us healing, more importantly, take control of our body and suppress or get rid of the cancer cells still in our body if that's the case. So we talk about protein is important, and the good sources are, seafood, eggs, chicken, turkey, as you all have today for lunch. We also talked about what's the best source of carbohydrate. We talked about particularly when we have tumor or cancer, the body is very much like the patient with diabetes. We are very much insulin resistant. Simple sugars, particularly in excess amount, together with the starch, are not really helpful to our body. And there are also some research suggesting that may actually help the cancer if we taking excess amount of simple sugar and starch. So the best source of a carbohydrate, it is what you have on your plate. Vegetables and plant-based, fruit, those are the best carbohydrate with portion controlled, healthy, whole grains and all those come along. That is the best source for carbohydrate. We also talked about fat. So we talked about our body, particularly with cancer, is having trouble to use fat very, very effectively. We have cholesterol, out of range and all of that reasons. But that does not necessarily mean we don't need good fat. Every single cell, the membrane, the wall of the cell is pretty much made of fatty acid, fat. So we do need it. We talked about if we're going to cook, we're going to use canola oil, grape seeds, avocado oil. They give you wonderful taste of food. Meanwhile, they're healthy. We talked about olive oil, that is monounsaturated fatty acid, great for you, but don't use it to cook, because the temperature never reaches very high, and it also becomes smoke very quickly, make your house, make your kitchen very stingy, right? And so we also talked about, other good source of fat, like nuts and avocados. We talked about also the importance of fish oil, and we did all that last year. So we also had heard from Dr. Brandt about how important the genetics are. So that is talking about our human genetics, all our human cells. I'm going to even make the issue much more complicated today. And that is, we're going to talk about a new field that is study the bugs on our body and inside our body. We actually truly living in the ocean of microbes. When you are having lunch right now, it is important to feed your human cells, but meanwhile, you need to taking good care of all your microbes because they play a role not only in your overall health, but they actually play a role in cancer prevention and how your body responds to therapy as well. So I'm gonna start with a simple, not simple, but very important scientific discovery. So when we're talking about malnutrition, we immediately, most of us, if not all, thinking about those kids starved in Africa, all right? And next thing come to mind is those kids are starved. We need to give them food. And that can be in a form, mostly we think about is calories. Whatever calorie we can give them, we will solve their problems. It turned out to be, it is not as that straightforward. It is not like we donate money, effort, go get the calories, that's white bread, maybe soft drinks, whatever you name it, the cheapest calories, give those kids will resolve their malnutrition issue. So in this particular study, what they have done is that they collect the fecal samples from the kids malnourished, and it's called UN, represented on this paper, on the slides, or the normal kids, okay? They collect their fecal material, and they give to identical mouse. They're genetically identical. What they have found is that if the mouse get the fecal transplant, in a sense, from the kids is malnourished, and the mouse will be malnourished. In spite of the mouse get fed exactly same food, same nutrition. Only the mouse get the fecal material from the normal nutrition kids, and then they got well-developed and no issues, no malnutrition issue. This is a very good example to show you the microbes, inside our gut. Actually, it does not just happen to be there. They actually have a lot to do with our metabolism and how our body functioning. So here, I'm just telling you, you all sitting around, and you may not change your genetics by Dr. Brandt's standard, but you are changing genetic material. That's what I'm telling you. So we actually, as each individual, our body boundary does not stop on top of our skin. Each one of us truly is walking around with a cloud of microbes really coming along with us, all right? So, and the body have our own human cells, we know, but there are also bacteria, fungi, archaebacteria, meaning they're old, very ancient microbes. Of course, there are also viruses. And we are truly walking around with all of them. Where are they? They almost in every single part of our body that is connected with the environment. And most of us think, okay, I connect with the environment, body of skin. Actually, human body is very much like a donut, okay? We connect with the environment outside and through the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, those are the two largest areas we connect ourselves with the environment. Where else? Obviously, our nose, our bronchus, and our lungs. How many of those guys we walking around with every day? It is at least 100 trillions. All right? If that doesn't give you an idea how many of them, they weigh typical adults, okay? They were all adults here. They typically weigh about only 5 pounds. Okay? So you think about how many of those microbes it is really on you and inside you. That's one thing you can remember. The second thing I want you to remember is that if we count all human cells from head to toe and count how many microbes is on you and inside you, on average, every single human cells, it is surrounded by about 10 microbes. So we're completely outnumbered by those microbes. If that is not impressive, now I'm talking about genetics, right? If you count all the genetic material, yours and the microbes, yours is only 1% at the most. 90% of the genetic material on you, the DNA, the RNA, and, it's not yours. All right? They are actually those, microbes has been living with you. Many of them actually started with the time, the first second you came to this world. And talking about genetic testing, one thing is talking about, really knowing what genes we have in a tumor, what genes have changed. There has been advance in research even to look into pancreatic cancer patient, for example. What are the special kind of microbes on you or inside you? What change they've been doing have an impact on you have cancer or not? And there's the gentleman over there, recurrent or not. So this is a brand new field. I just want to share with everyone and what we know so far. Another thing I want to tell you, this is actually also very much related to pancreatic cancer, is that we all want to know as early as possible, do I have risk for pancreatic cancer? From all the morning speakers we have heard, pancreatic cancer is not like a colon cancer. It is not something we can detect early. At least at this stage, we don't have the tool yet. But we do now know, actually, the microbes change in your mouse actually have very close relationship with your risk with pancreatic cancer. So it turned out to be which part of your body it has what kind of microbes. It is not a simple matter. Each bacteria society is highly regulated on their own. They have a hierarchy of its own. I put on this slide to show you, this is the study come out of the bacteria, study the bacteria in the mouse, because I said they have relationship even with pancreatic cancer risk. So it turned out to be if you happen to go to the hospital, visit someone, got bacteria on your hand, it's very easy. Without you knowing it, you're going to put some over your face and get some into your mouth. But we don't necessarily get sick all the time. What happens is that if that bacteria normally do not live in your oral cavity inside your mouth, your whole microbe society inside the mouse has a system. They check this guy, see if it belongs here. If not, they actually mobilize their own troops to go out to kill them. Okay, so each individual, and for a given individual, each part of your body, what kind of microbes are on that place, it is highly regulated. This is also impacted by your body function and as well. So this is just one, a peek into how complex this is all about. So, and I also now getting into what they exactly do. And one thing, to our biggest surprise, actually, they controls our mood, or at least have impact if not control, impact on our mood. And this is the research actually come from UCLA. What they have found is that one of the neurotransmitters called serotonin, we all know that, and we need serotonin to be in a good, pleasant mood. It turned out to be what kind of gut bacteria you have. Actually, that determines your blood serotonin levels. Okay, so that is something we never imagined before. Now come to even closer to pancreatic cancer. Now we're talking about the gut, okay, talking about our intestine. Our intestine, it is actually a very complex structure. There's a complex structure between, the passing through food, the bacteria live in our gut, and our body. It is not one layer, it's actually many layers. All right, start on the top, and you look at the lumens, all kind of things passing by. The second layer is mucus, and that is produced by our own cells. And so the mucus, actually, how much you have, it is impacted by your own body function, and those microbes live on the top. And then is another layer of cells, and then we have our immune system right under that. It turned out to be, if there are any alteration of this barrier, and then we would allow different things to come inside our body, and that have tremendous impact on the gastrointestinal system, including the liver and the pancreas. So this is just a picture to show you what can change the microbes. Number one, we cannot really blame our microbes making us do things. Why? Because the diet we eat determines pretty much what kind of microbes we have inside our gut, on top of our skin. That is pretty much really determined by ourselves. We did that by choosing what to eat and how we live. And that is one point I want to make. The second point is that when you have surgery, when you have chemotherapy, when you have radiation, those microbes change very, very quickly. If you look at the UCLA newsroom, and we actually collaborated with cardiology group, also gastroenterologists found out, even we drive on 405 in slow traffic, even those diesel particles we inhale, some of them get swallowed through the saliva, can change our gut microbes and also make the gut, we call it leaky. So a lot of the bad things not supposed to come in can now come into your blood, and particularly come from the portal vein. That's how everything comes from the gut, go to the liver, and then get to other part of the body. And that it is very much dynamic. Even inhale those diesel particles can give you tremendous change on the microbes and in turn on your body function. And obviously, we talked about the risk factors for pancreatic cancer, smoking, overweight, and all other issues are heavily related to what kind of microbes we have. So this is just a cartoon to show you even the bacteria normally won't get into our blood. If we somehow change this microbe balance with our body, and they will become, able to get into our body and cause infections or inflammations and other things. Now, we all like quick solutions, aren't we? And we don't want to care what kind of food we should to eat to change the microbes. That just come too slow. It is also too hard, right? So we have to think too much. And if you're talking about good microbes, we want to just take them and get over with it. So you all hear a lot about probiotics. What are probiotics? Probiotics actually are live bacteria, and that believe to actually help our body function. And that is when you are healthy and the bacteria on you or inside you, they are part of you. They are in almost the category of probiotics. So they are live bacteria. So where do you get them? One is fermented food. So-called fermentation per se, like old days we make a dough to make a bread. And those are microbes amplified inside the food cause the rise of the dough or fermentation. This is all result of microbes function. When you eat those food, they actually have live bacteria in it. Another format talking about is yogurt, particularly those yogurt with a special label on it, and they have microbes, probiotics in it. If that is not simple enough, then you come in capsules. The capsules, and they're all kind of forms. But are we, really come down to, as long as we take those internally, we can change our whole body's microbiome, the whole society of it? That actually still is a question mark. And I do want to remind everyone here two things. Number one, microbes are like seeds. If you just planting the seeds, you don't take care of the soil or the fertilizers, they cannot really grow. You can put as many seeds as possible at Santa Monica Beach, but hardly ever they're going to give you plants, and not talking about any fruits. So what are the fertilizers and soil? Unfortunately, come back again, is what you eat. Okay? So what you eat actually play a major part in how healthy your gut or your skin microbes are. So that's number one. Number two is that if you are in a disease condition, okay, that can be right now you getting chemotherapy, or you are about to have surgery, or you just had surgery, I would not recommend for you to take live bacteria. Okay? So they are live ones. Also, they come in huge numbers. If you're talking about capsules, the capsules usually contains 50 billion live bacteria, at least they should be. That is on the label. So when you are in a condition other than healthy, and I would not recommend you take live ones. There are concerns if they actually get into the blood and cause infection and all of that. And particularly, those probiotics is coming in usually no more than 3 strains, so 3 different kinds. So in a normal, healthy individual, just talking about your intestine, there should be at least 500 different kinds. Okay? 5 different kind, you're going to try to change the whole landscaping with 3 different kind. It is, you can imagine, the effect may not be as obvious to start with. So this is probiotics. So now coming back to talk about what we eat. All right, so those are the feed, or those are the food for the microbes. It is called prebiotics. So probiotics are live bacteria. The prebiotics is the food they live on. And that's happen to be what we eat as well. So look at what they are. All right, they are almost everything we usually eat come out of nature. So there's fruit, there's vegetables, and we actually never realize fibers, okay? We call it fiber because our body cannot break it down, so we call it fiber. We label them calorie zero as well. When we're talking about fiber, we used to think, help your bowels and regulate your bowels. Now actually we know the number one physiological function for the fibers is actually not necessarily regulate your bowels just by mechanic bulking of your stool, but instead they feed and control and regulate what kind of microbes is in your gut. Through that, actually have impact on your body function. So here's the data we did with mouse, okay? We gave the mouse diet, just adding one fiber is called amylose. So this is the fiber existing in raw bananas. Well, who eat that, right? And it actually have a lot to do with this fiber content. If we just add one fiber to the mouse diet, we'll change gazillion, I don't have the slide, change gazillion of microbes, and you don't have to be bothered. But what I want to make a point is that just that change with all different kind of bacteria in your gut will produce the bacteria, digest the fiber, and they release some compounds, or we call metabolites, that would be about 900 different kinds. Okay, this is new. And those 900 compounds will cause your genes in your intestine, just the lining of your gut, we call epithelial cells. They will change about 2,000 genes just by adding one fibers. Okay, so we're talking about one fiber and got about 2,000 fold amplifications. So think about what you just pick up for lunch, right? Today we had a healthy lunch. If not having, healthy lunch today, let's say you just had a grilled cheese. It's not 2,000 fold. And we had a lettuce, we had a fruit. This will be 2,000 probably times another 200 at least. That is how powerful what we eat have on our microbes, and then in turn on our body. That also tells us how much power we have in our hands to really take our health under control. So now back to a little bit more about the benefit of fruit vegetables. And they not only give us carbohydrate, I started by talking about what we talked about last year, and they give us vitamins, they give us minerals, and they give us phytonutrients, meaning the nutrients only come in from the vegetables. And we added the fibers, we added prebiotics. So now I even get a microphone working because we're talking about the vegetable powers, right? So it's also a quick, mentioning a review. So remember we talked about last year, and the red color of fruit vegetables is not food coloring, right? They are actually from special nutrients. For example, what I'm showing here, the red, is lycopene, okay? That lycopene compounds give fruit vegetables the red color, all right? So other than we know the lycopene molecules have effect on cancer cells. For example, lycopene, most of the work was done with prostate cancer, and some work on breast cancer as well. So indeed, we also know those large molecules now also impact on the microbes. The microbes can eat them, okay, digest them, and they get, promoted in growth. That promotion can then have new compounds generated and also have impact on our body. So now we know not just fibers, even those compounds come in with natural fruit, vegetables, and they not only directly impact our body, but more so probably is through the microbes. So the red color is lycopene, the orange is typically beta-carotene. And the light yellow, it have a lot to do with flavonoids, and all those kind of yellow color is a reflection of how much this compounds is in that particular fruit or vegetables. Here's our favorite, blue and lavender color. And all this color is coming from a molecule called resveratrol. Right? That is the excuse we have to drink wine, not 1 glass, but 2 glasses and 5 glasses, right? But I do have to tell you, if you talking about getting enough resveratrol for the longevity, you have to drink about a couple hundred bottles every day, all right? So, same thing for blueberry. Blueberry is, a lot of us call it superfood. The superfood have a lot to do with the skin of the blueberry. It has resveratrol as well. There are other, actually natural compounds give purple color as well. And like acylcyanidins, that's another one, give kind of purple bluish color. And the white color, actually, it is not dull at all. And they have special compounds, like I listed one here called allium. The other thing I want to point it out, if we compare all the food, look at how powerful they are to get the good bacteria really get growing in our gut. Number one is come from the spice group. What are the spices? It's not necessarily just cayenne peppers, right? Pungent is not does not equal to spice. So what are listed here? The leeks, the onions, and all of those actually black peppers and all that all belong to the spice family. And the cinnamon is in this group. Vanilla actually is a spice group as well. If you ask me, take the same amount by weight, this group has most power to get your good bacteria really supported. Okay, so this is the spice group. We actually ourselves are doing studies right now, try to figure it out if there are any, combination even make this stronger and better. And also share some research on what we have doing at our center. One of the fruit we spend a lot of time to study is actually a pomegranate. Okay, part of the reason is actually I grew up in China. In traditional Chinese medicine, pomegranate is one of the main support herbs in the traditional Chinese medicine. So we will all get taught very young. When you eat a pomegranate, you eat the arrows and dry the peel, put in the drawer. Whenever you have stomach upset, you take the peel out, make a tea out of it. It's always helpful. All right, so we never know what it's all about. So actually, we now know most of the nutrients, if we're talking about beneficial to our body, it is not in the arrows. It is actually in the peel. Just that research alone changed the practice of the industry. The industry used to just make a juice out of arrows. Now they actually squeeze the entire fruit to dry, including the peel, to make a pomegranate juice. So that it is out of research. Well, the reason I'm showing here is that we also know those big molecules, like I'm showing in this slides, it is never able to be absorbed inside our body. That's the reason from a Western research point of view, we go, okay, they never got made to the blood, they must be just passing through. No effect. No. What we found is that depends on what kind of bacteria you have in your gut, you can break it down actually to much smaller molecules. Actually, the bacteria can make even new molecules, and that got into your blood. We actually have preliminary data, just the bacteria made out of these big compounds, at least in petri dish, inhibit pancreatic cancer cell to grow. We had some collaboration with Dr. Pando, and who was just here. We were even just talk about that. So this is also a small molecule released from that big compounds. Is some other people's work also showing, at least at a cell level, inhibit pancreatic cancer cell to grow. So this is just one example of it. And the other one is we all hear so much about turmeric, right? And if you don't know what that it is, just think about when you were in the Indian restaurant, that yellow color, and that is a turmeric, right? And that is, chemical name is called curcumin. It is one of the, main part of the Indian cuisine. And I'm telling you, old days, we don't know what's the scientific, evidence, but we do know what it works. For example, you see this yellow color is always in the mix of oil. All right? It turned out to be this big molecule is fat soluble. If you don't have the fat, actually your body don't really able to get too much. Here's another one. The molecule is so huge, we've been poo-pooing it, saying, it's not getting into the blood, don't worry about it. Even including our lab, we tried many different ways, tried to get this big molecule passing the gut, get into the blood. So we spent time trying to do it. Now we actually found you don't have to get them into the blood. They have tremendous impact on the bacteria of your gut, and that in turn have impact on your body function. So, and go ahead and eat in the Indian restaurants, just not overdo it, or you take your capsules, right? And also, with that have said, we see so many different products out on the market with drastically different price. And my advice to you, and the regular GNC curcumin, or they call it turmeric, is just as good. We actually have biological assay to look at the comparisons of the fancy ones versus, just simple, straightforward curcumin. This is just to impress you how many different disease conditions curcumin have impact on. And we also, there is clinical studies look at curcumin and advanced pancreatic cancer as well. So the last example I have for you today, it is tea. If I tell you, okay, you gotta drink tea because you need it, particularly your body has pancreatic cancer. What tea are you thinking about to drink? Green. Okay, here is a perfect example why we emphasize so much about green tea, not talking about anything else, particularly, Americans and immigrants from Europe. The, cultural tea is black tea or red tea. What's wrong with that? Why we all have to rush to green tea? The reason is green tea has a specific molecule. It is very bioavailable, meaning they're small enough, they get into our blood, we can detect their presence in the blood. So we focus all our attention to green tea. Why are we not doing black tea? Because black teas come from the same plant, but is a further process. It's roasted, fermented, so here's the word again, fermented, the bacteria got work on it, and the molecule becomes so huge. The color is called theorubin. It is very big. It never got detected in our blood. Therefore, we be saying, oh, no, it doesn't work. So from our own center, we now know those big molecules can be break down, can be used by our microbes, and in turn, they have different way of impact our body, including cancer, but they are effective. So my message for you from our research is that if you like green tea, drink your green tea. If you like your black tea, be happy your black tea. If you like both or alternating, be happy with that. And it's only because we do not know enough about what they go by, particularly their interaction with our body. And here, just one example, the EGCG, that's a small molecule out of the green tea on pancreatic cancer cells. And another point I want to make is that when you talk about taking supplements, it's never going to be as good as you taking natural compounds. Because when even you just have one raspberry or blackberry over there, it's never one compound. It is a mix of them, 100 or more of that. And each compound, standing alone, works differently than in their natural environment. So be, as much as possible, take the food as it is. That will be the first choice before you go to supplements. Okay, what else have impact on our microbes? Activity levels. Active or not actually controls or actually at least have impact on how the microbiome like and what's the balance. Also sleep. Sleep actually, also have impact not just directly on our body, but also through the microbiomes. And that is the time our body is more focused on surveillance, and that's also the times the microbes doing a lot of their function. And obviously, the next one is stress. So we need to really stay as cool as the cucumbers, irregardless of what everything is happening around us. So now, we talk about all of that, and I appreciate the Hirschberg Foundation's vision on looking at the role of nutrition. So we got awarded a seed grant in 2016. So what we're planning to do is have patients getting chemotherapy right now to do two groups. One group, we just gave you nutrition counseling, help you with meal plans. Another group, we would do the same, but also very specific about what kind of food maybe are, more practical, feasible, and to use during the day. And bottom line is, we want to see if we optimize your nutrition during your chemotherapy. Would that have an impact on your body function, your body weight, your quality of life, and how you respond to chemotherapy? And meanwhile, for science purpose, we're going to look at all the markers, see if nutrition, in addition to chemotherapy, would make any change. If any one of you can help us with our research, I have flyers left outside the table. Do contact us. I do hope next year at this time, we're able to actually report to you all on what we find in a scientific way. Thank you very much.